Welcome back to Cartoon Mistakes with Irma Monkey, where I'm continuing my look at Spider-Man the Animated Series. This episode focuses on Series 2 of the show, The Neogenic Nightmare. The first mistake I'm showing you involves the X-Men. Notice as Wolverine tries to save Beast, he's electrocuted on the cage and then knocked out. Beast then grabs him by the scruff of the neck. Soon after, the Hobgoblin enters and Spider-Man tries to hold onto the cage before it falls into the tub of acid. Wolverine then later wakes up, just in time to grab Beast's hand. So now the Beast is holding onto Wolverine's hand. Yet later, when the Hobgoblin is attacked, you get this wide shot of the room, which shows Wolverine is now asleep again for some reason, and Beast is holding him by the scruff of the neck again. As the Hobgoblin leaves, you then get a second shot of Beast and the cage, and here you can also see that Wolverine is still asleep, with Beast holding him by the neck, even though that part of Wolverine's costume has already ripped. Then, when Spider-Man calls for help, Wolverine is suddenly awake again, and is now holding onto the cage with his two hands.
Excellent work, Spider-Man. Scorpion, stop! You'll destroy the Neogenic.
In this scene, Scorpion and the Vulture are attacking each other before they make a fragile alliance. Notice Vulture's arms are skin-coloured, which is incorrect, as they should actually be green and part of the suit. Yet, in the next shot, suddenly his arms are green again.
Need help? I'm suffering from a...
In this shot, notice Spider-Man's suit is ripped on one of the shoulders.
B1?
He must be destroyed, and so must you. I won't make the mistake of letting you live this time.
Yet when Spider-Man falls off the building, suddenly his suit isn't ripped.
Oh, it's Spider-Man. He looks sick.
Don't touch him! He might have spider corns.
Only for his suit to then be ripped again as he hits the ground. Notice that Scorpion burns one of Dr. Octopus's arms in a fight.
Ouch! I'd hate to see the repair bill on that. Can't you find anybody coordinated to work with?
Scorpion, you malodorous bungler!
Later on in the episode, as the Sinister Six decide not to work with the Kingpin, notice Doc Ock's arm is still destroyed in this shot. Yet, when the Kingpin starts to shout at them, suddenly Dr. Octopus's arm is fixed. Only for it to then be destroyed again in the next shot of the street. Seems like a bit of a reuse of a scene to me. This is a funny mistake that occurs in this episode with the Tablet of Time. Notice Spider-Man is buried alive under some rocks, only for him to then get out of them very quickly. If we look at each clip side by side, you can tell that the first clip of the rocks falling onto him is simply played again in reverse for when Spider-Man gets out of the rocks.
It had ugly claws. 6 of them. It looked like...
Notice the sketch of the man-spider that the police officer is drawing.
something out of a horror movie.
Let me see that.
When he hands it to Terry Lee, suddenly the picture is shaded. Then in the next shot, as Terry Lee puts it down, you can see that it's not shaded. Then we get to the news report, you can see that the picture is completely different, as this time it's more of a side-on shot, which also isn't shaded.
Man Spider. Authorities are wondering if there's a connection between
Notice Morbius flees down a hole in the ship, which then closes as he goes in. Yet, for some reason in this shot, the hole is still visible. And the door is not closed. Yet, back up top, Spider-Man and Blade are struggling to open the door. While Morbius and Felicia are below,
You're not the same person I fell in love with.
the door is still open in this shot.
I do love you, Felicia. I must get help to be changed back to my human self.
Only for it to then close again as Spidey and Blade finally tear it open. What took you guys so long? Notice Peter has pulled up to the house in the Daily Bugle van, and Mary Jane then greets him at the door as the two talk. The Bugle van is still seen behind Peter in this shot. Yet, in this overhead shot, the Bugle van is nowhere to be seen, only for it to then reappear as MJ storms off. In this episode, no one has actually seen the Punisher yet, so no one would know what he looks like. Notice the Punisher has a skull on his chest, and he doesn't have a skull anywhere else. Before facing off against Spider-Man, the Punisher will put on a jetpack which will cover the skull. As he flies off, notice you can no longer see the skull on the Punisher's chest. So with all this information I've just given you, you need to ask yourself why this next scene happens. Listen to what Spider-Man says.
Don't tell me. The skull, the corny line, so your name must be Bonehead, right?
Now, why is Spider-Man calling him the Skull and Bonehead when he clearly can't see the skull that's behind the jetpack? Yet, Spider-Man isn't the only one who can somehow see this skull on the Punisher's shirt.
That's right, I said a skull on his chest. No, it's not a tattoo. The skull's on his shirt. I want him ID'd pronto.
Robbie, give me something on this skull guy.
And that brings me to the end of my look at Spider-Man the Animated Series, Season 2. Stay tuned for Part 3, which is out next week, where I'll be looking at Season 3 of the Spider-Man show. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.